Tzaddik Vav Medbeis 96b. We are about quarter from the bottom of the page, maybe a bit more. The last line of the word is Zeh. The word before that is Amar, and the word before that is Ullah. So it's Ullah Amar Zeh. So look at the end of the line rather than the beginning of the line. There's a little parenthesis with the word Zerita, and then go up one. Ullah Amar Zeh here.
How many lines in the bottom?
Roughly about 15, something like that.
Hold on. Ullah Amar Zeh.
Got it?
Close enough. I don't know, somewhere around here.
Here, let me show you.
Here, I'll show you right here. Here.
So on top of it.
Okay.
Okay, so the Gemara has an unbelievable story of what led to the Beis Hamikdash and the Beis Hamikdash destruction, and the consideration that Sanhedrin took before he decided or agreed to attack Yerushalayim and destroy the temple. It's a very interesting. I'll read the story, but you'll see it's a very interesting commentary on Nebuchadnezzar's state of mind and what he believed before he went in to destroy the Beis Hamikdash.
Do you mind if I close the door?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. And see the story, we'll see. Okay. Ullah Amar, Ullah said as follows. Ullah Amar Zeh, or Ullah said the following. Oh, sorry, it's back down. A line under that. Amar Ullah. Ullah said, not Ullah Amar Zeh, but go down. That we did yesterday. Ullah said. Yeah, after the parentheses. Amar Ullah. Ammon and Moav, the nations of Ammon and Moav, Shavivi Bishid Yerushalayim Hava. They were bad neighbors of Yerushalayim. But, as we'll see, they were cowards. They were cowards.
All terrorists are.
So they weren't even brave enough to be terrorists, as we'll see. They were just plain old cowards, but they were annoying neighbors. Kivin de Shaminu. As soon as they heard the Nevi, to the Jewish prophets, the Misnavi that were prophesying L'churban Yerushalayim, for the destruction of Jerusalem, I mentioned before Zechariah was killed by the Jewish people. I mentioned this yesterday, because he prophesied of the destruction, and though he wasn't the only one, there were others as well, Yirmiyah and Zechariah most notably. We mentioned yesterday how Zechariah's blood was boiling in the Beis Hamikdash, and I offered this commentary which stated that the reason why they killed Zechariah is because a prophet who doesn't prophesy, even though he dies, his prophecy doesn't come true if he doesn't actually verbalize the prophecy and relay the prophecy.
So they kill him and fix
well, it was too late, but he already said the prophecy, but I guess they were upset at him for doing that, so they killed him. But I'm just mentioning that now because, as you can see here, the nations only agreed to destroy the Jews because they heard the Jewish prophet saying it. So, one could further make the case that it was a halfway of a self-fulfilling prophecy, in the sense that, obviously I'm way oversimplifying it, because the relationship between God and the prophets is something that I don't really fully understand, because I'm not a prophet.
Prophets wouldn't speak unless they checked in with the man upstairs, right?
They were given insight, some communicative fashion, however that works. The Alter talks a little bit about it in Shaykh V'Amunah, as like a divine communication that comes either into their speech directly or into their thoughts or into their actions, something like that. But either way, it seems that they have a choice to withhold prophecy. In fact, there's a prohibition against withholding prophecy. But the Jews felt that the prophets should have violated their prohibition rather than articulate the prophecy of their doom, because the articulation of it brings to it. And kind of the story that we're about to read supports that, because Ammon and Moav only begin their prodding of Nebuchadnezzar once they hear that the Jewish prophets are saying that destruction is coming. Right? Ammon and Moav, these annoying neighbors, hear the prophet saying that there's destruction, so they know that something's going on in heaven. So they sent a message to Nebuchadnezzar as king of Bavel. So they figured, let's go we're too cowardice or not strong enough to go attack the Jewish people. Let's go get this other guy, Nebuchadnezzar, let him march into Jerusalem and do the killing and destroying for us. There's like an interesting dynamic. Like you have this all the times. You have the coward who stands behind, but he stokes everybody else to make the trouble. This Aman. So they send a message to Nebuchadnezzar, and they say, "Puk, get up, V'ta, and come here. This is your opportunity to destroy the Jewish people." Amar, he said, "Mistafin, I'm afraid, they shouldn't do to me like they did to my predecessors." I assume he's referring to Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin tried destroying the temple, Beis Mikdash. He was successful in the northern kingdom. That's where the lost tribes became the lost tribes. And before attacking Jerusalem, he was miraculously killed, as we described in previous classes. He was miraculously killed by an angel. So he says, "I'm afraid that they can do the same thing to me." So Shalchulei Amun sent a message back. Ke'ein ha'ish bebeisai. The man is not home. Halach b'derech merachek. He is gone on a far journey. Which man? Ke'ein ish HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When they say man, they were bringing the Holy One, blessed be He. Where's a verse which supports the idea that God's referred to as a man? Shneimar, as the verse reads, Hashem ish b'chama. God is the man of war. So they said, the man of the house is gone. It's your time to attack. God's protection is no longer there. Shalach lahu, so Nebuchadnezzar sent the message back. Bekrivahu va'asi. He's very close by. It means God's protection is never too far from the Jewish people. And if I attack, he'll come right back home. And then I'm done. So Shalchulei, they sent the message back to Aman Moav. Now sent the message back to Nebuchadnezzar and says, "Halach b'derech merachek." Relax. He's on a far journey. He's way gone. God's protection is way out. Don't worry about it coming back. Shalach lahu. So Nebuchadnezzar sent back, Islu tzadiki. They have righteous amongst them. The bo rachme, who will pray for mercy. Umaisile, and they're going to bring God back. So it's an interesting dynamic here. These two are Amun and Moav are too cowardice to attack. They're prodding Nebuchadnezzar. Same hand, another hand, yeah.
Where does Amun and
Moav live?
No. Where do they? What internet did they plug in to know all this stuff? I want to know.
Well, they heard the prophets.
They had the prophets of the day.
The prophets are living in Jerusalem. They live right nearby, so they're hearing the messages.
Oh, okay.
So they already know there's chaos in Jerusalem, and there's prophets walking around telling everybody there's doom coming.
The end is near. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, some of the prophets, like Yirmiyahu, for example, told everybody to leave the city. Said leave. They're coming and leave the city, and the king and everybody else refused to leave. How long stories, but in other words, their neighbors, the prophets aren't just saying words and everybody else is going around their business. It's creating chaos. It's a mixed chaos. So they're sending a message to Nebuchadnezzar. Look, you've always wanted to attack the people. Now's your opportunity.
And they're sitting around.
Just prepped it for you.
Nice.
It's prepped.
Sorry?
He eats it. It's prepped.
Oh.
Yeah.
My coffee, please.
Yeah.
So, but these guys, they're just sitting around waiting for these messages.
Who, Nebuchadnezzar?
No, not Nebuchadnezzar. Those two guys.
Amun and Moav.
Yeah, that's their life.
It seems like that's what I'm saying. They're neighbors. They're annoying. They're cowards. They don't want to attack themselves. Meaning, if they really believe what they're saying, that God's protection is gone, then walk in yourself. What are you waiting for? They're sending to Nebuchadnezzar. On the other hand, Nebuchadnezzar, he wants to do it, but he's nervous about it. He's like, "Are you guys sure? Are you 100% sure?" He's like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yes, go do it." You know, it's like in a classroom where you have the one kid who wants to make trouble, and you have the two other kids who,
come on,
do it, yeah, do it.
So if
and then they raise their hands. I didn't do it. It was him who did it. Right.
If he goes in and gets killed, these two guys are like, "Well, we thought it was the time, but
wasn't it?" Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
It's almost like Nebuchadnezzar is more confident in what they're saying than they are. Anyway, it's an interesting dynamic.
In retrospect, it worked out for everyone. The prophets were
except for the Jews.
No, but the Jewish prophets prophesied that this was going to happen.
Yeah, they either died or they were killed, exiled, put in jail. I mean, Jeremiah was put in jail, and
but
Zechariah was killed.
The prophecy came true.
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked out for everybody. They're prophesying,
except for the Jewish people who were murdered along the way.
No, but it was prophesied that it was going to happen.
That's correct.
So,
yeah. They were right in this exchange.
That's what I'm saying. It
That's
worked
correct.
out for everybody. It worked out
In this sense, yes.
In this particular
But then-
scenario, it worked out for everybody.
There's a lot. They should stop instead to make.
We're talking about the
Yeah.
first destruct, the first temple, not the second temple.
Okay, first one.
This is the first temple. Second temple, we didn't have the same prophets. It's a different story, which the Gemara also discusses. This is the first base of Midrash where you do have prophets and you had kings. So although there was chaos within the camp of the Jewish people, but you still had one voice speaking for the people, at least for the most part, which is why there's commentary about this, how the second temple, they may have had better in certain areas, like they don't have idol worship like they had in the first temple, but they didn't have unity. And the first temple may have had some idol worship and other problems, but they had unity, at least for the most part, at least within the southern kingdom for the most part. Anyway, so Nebuchadnezzar says, look, okay, maybe God's protection is gone, but they have tzaddikim, they're righteous, who are going to daven and bring him back. So Shalchalei, so they sent a message back, Ammon Moab sent a message back to Nebuchadnezzar, which is Tzirod HaKesef Lakach Biyadei. God took the bag of silver in his hands. That's literally the verse. What does it mean, took the bag of silver in his hands? Ve'en kesef el tzadikim. The kesef, the silver, are referring to tzadikim, which means God took the righteous out. Does this mean literally took them out? Or does it mean he has removed their capacity to defend the people, as if to say he's now separated between everybody and the righteous? Usually the case is that the righteous are intrinsically connected to their people, and therefore when they pray on behalf of the people, as an extension of people, right? This is the story of half of Nach, where you have Jews messing up and the prophets coming and interceding on God's behalf. And as explained at length, I think it's a tshuva from the Chassam Sofer, if I'm not mistaken, where he explains why you're allowed to ask another Jew, particularly a tzaddik, to daven on your behalf, while you can't ask an angel. It's the halacha. If you met an angel, you couldn't ask an angel, go pray for me. It's a big question why we say Malach Nisei Rachamim. It's discussed. But you're not supposed to, if you met an angel, you couldn't ask him to pray on your behalf, but you can ask another Jew. So why? So he explains. All Jews are one big body. That's what we are. We're not one. It's when I tell the doctor that I have a problem in my finger, it's not like my mouth is speaking on behalf of my finger. It's one body, and we, the body, are speaking. And the mouth has the brain using the mouth has better capacity to communicate to the doctor than the finger does. So it's not as if the finger is losing out by not being able to communicate directly. It's better off with the brain and mouth communicating than if it were itself to talk to the doctor, so to speak. So likewise, a tzaddik davening on behalf of the Jewish people, on behalf of his fellow Jew, it's not like someone else praying on my behalf. It's someone with it's the mind and the heart of the Jewish people speaking on behalf of the finger, me. Because we're one body. So it's possible that when the Gemara says here that God removed the tzaddikim from amongst them, doesn't mean they literally took them out of Jerusalem. I don't think that's what it means. Because sorry, that they died, literally died. Some of them were still alive. I mean, certainly at that point there was.
But not enough to.
You had Yirmiyah still alive.
Of course, but it wasn't enough to overturn the Gezerah.
Anyway, okay. It's also possible that means that God removed their capacity to be connected to the Jewish people. Perhaps. Anyway, just suggesting these things because there's obviously layers of meaning here. So, Shenemar, how do we know that the righteous are referred to? Right, the verse says that God took the bag of silver.
He took him in his hands. He took him to Shemayim.
Right, he took him to him.
Yeah.
It doesn't fully. Problem is that you have tzaddikim in, like especially in the Zohar talks about this in other places, how tzaddikim in heaven also daven on behalf of the Jewish people. So taking them to heaven also means they lost their capacity to pray whether here or there.
So they had the capacity, and he was, still meeting out the golden calf. We're still paying. He said, "Hey, wait, it's all right, guys," but
something like that.
Enough to overcome
At any rate, so the verse says that God took the silver with him, and the silver refers to the tzaddikim. How do we know that silver refers to the tzaddikim, the righteous ones? Remember, the verse reads, "V'achali b'chamisha eser kesef," and I acquired for myself. God speaking, saying that I acquired for myself the Jewish people with 15 silver talents or gold or coins. V'chaymer sa'odim. Where's the rest of the verse on the top there? V'chaymer sa'odim v'lesech sa'odim. and I think it's a bag of barley. Let me get the actual translation. Yeah. Right, so I bought her to me for 15 pieces of kesef, and a core of barley, which is a measurement of barley, and a half core of barley, another measurement. The point being that God acquired the Jewish people with silver, as this verse implies, metaphorically speaking. So therefore, when the verse says that God took the silver with him, tzaddikim are gone, and this is what Ammon and Moav tell son Nebuchadnezzar, your time is now to attack. Don't worry about the righteous, because they're not available.
So Rashi explains the cheshbon of the 45 tzaddikim, that's 30, son, 15. So that's why a certain threshold has to be there. Where's tzaddikim?
Right. The actual number of 15 plus how many?
50 wants to play the 15th of Nisan.
Yeah. And then you have a core and a half core.
A core is 30 son and a half core is 45. So you're talking about 45 tzaddikim.
Okay.
And that's the point. Kind of got quorum.
Wasn't enough. There was, but not enough. Okay.
Yeah. Make 45 is the number for Hashem's name.
All right. So, shalach lahu. They okay. So Nebuchadnezzar gets the message saying that there's no more tzaddikim. Fine, they're not available. Shalach lahu. So Nebuchadnezzar sends back to them. Okay, so I get it. There's no more tzaddikim, but hadri rishayi b'tshuva. The wicked will do repentance. Ubar rachman, and then they'll pray. Umaisalei, and they'll bring God back. God's protection is not gone. Tzaddikim aren't there to daven. But don't worry about it. The Jews are capable of tshuva. In 1 second, the Jew can go from being the biggest wicked person to the biggest tzaddik, and he'll pray. I'm not immune to the prayer. So Shol Chulei, Ammon and Moav sent back a message and says, Kvar kava lahem zman. The time has already been set. Time for destruction is set. This is it. Now's your opportunity. Yeah. Why didn't they just say this to begin with? Forget the whole thing before. Why did they say this to begin with? Good question. I don't know. I'm just putting the question out there.
It's a sales pitch. You got to get to the.
Yeah.
It could have been that this man would have been affected by the tshuva. So
but he didn't say there's no tshuva. They said there is possible for it. They didn't deny the possibility for tshuva. Right, there is possibility, but it wouldn't matter because the time is set. That's what it seems like. So now what you say is to begin with. The time is set. It's done.
Rebuttal, answer.
But also
until close.
If the tzaddikim were there, it may have been a difference. But now, without the tzaddikim, then you have
tshuva aren't enough for tzaddikim. I don't know. It's just a question. In other words, it seems like Kabbalah is unfinished. Like Rashi points out that the 70-year anyway.
Every sale is the
whatever.
same, Rabbi. It starts here. You stay within a line, and there's.
You try to sell the lowest, and then you go to the highest.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, it's just interesting. So they says, look, the time has already come. It's done. Shneimar, as the verse reads, the Yom Hakise on the day of the Kise, which means the appointed day, as we'll see. Yavel leBaisai and Yavel leBaisai, you can arrive in his house. As if to say, the time has arrived, and now you can go there. Now, the word for arrived, or the time that has arrived, is Kese or Kise. Kese specifically with the segel under both the kaf and the samach. And in Kesel is man, and Kese refers to Zman, an appointed time. As the verse reads, and this is a reference to Rosh Hashanah, the Kesel Yom Chagenu, at the appointed time of our holiday. Again, using the word Kese, even though there it's with an aleph, here it's with a hey, but it's the same root word, which the root word is kaf samach Kese without the suffix, but without the interchangeable suffix of aleph and hey, referring to the appointed time. In this verse, referring to Rosh Hashanah, but on the verse earlier of our story, it refers to the appointed time when the temple is ready to be destroyed. Okay, but he's still not enough. He's still worried. Shalach lahu. So Nebuchadnezzar sent the message back to Ammon and Moav. Sitiva hu. I'm not sure how to pronounce that word. It's winter. Matzina and the Asi, and it's just incapable. I'm incapable of coming right now because mitaglo mitra, because of the snow and the rain. I can't come. Can't do it. Even though, what time of year is it? When is the temple destroyed? No.
Summer.
Yes. What does it mean? It's in the winter time.
No, maybe the one is just maybe they asked him now. But you have to wait until the.
He didn't defer it. They tell him it's fine. In this story. It's just interesting. I'm just pointing out things that are interesting. I don't necessarily have the answers. It's always questions. We're just pointing out these things.
It's the winter of our discontent.
Something like that. Anyway, so Shalchul they sent back Ta'ashina de Torah. You can come on the peaks of the mountaintops. Somehow that helps you avoid the rain and the water. Shneimar, as the verse reads, Shulchu kar moshel aretz. Send kar. There's a goat. What is it? It's a lamb. Yeah. Shulchu kar moshel aretz. Send the lamb into the ruler of the earth, meaning to Jerusalem. Misela midbara, from the peaks of the wilderness. Al har basiyon, to the mountain of the daughter of Zion, referring to the temple. So if you come through the mountains, you can get in, even though it's winter time. All right. So Sholach Lahu, Nebuchadnezzar is still nervous and sends a message back to Aman Amoyav. But Iyasina, if I do arrive now, but Leslie Duchta Iyasina Bay, I don't have a home to stay in. Where I have a massive army, I need to put them up in places and homes. Where are they going to stay? Shalchulei, so Aman Amoyav sent back. Don't worry about it. Kfar Shalhem, their graves, which in ancient times used to be in caves. So their graves, which are in caves, Ma'ulin miplatan shalcha, are more comfortable than your palaces. Ksiv, as the verse reads, in describing Nebuchadnezzar's entry into Jerusalem, as Be'esahinu Mashem, at that time in the name of God, Yitziu Atzmeis Malchi Huda, they took out the bones of the kings of Judah, Vis Atzmeis Sarav, and the bones of their ministers, Vis Atzmeis Akayanim, and the bones of the Kayanim, Vis Atzmeis Anavim, and the bones of the prophets, Vis Atzmeis Yerushalayim, and the bones of those who dwell of the dwellers of Jerusalem, Mikivreim, from their graves, bones taken out of graves, Vishatchum, and they were spread out, L'Shemesh V'Le'ereach, to be feasted on, metaphorically speaking, or like poetically speaking, to the Shemesh V'Le'ereach, to the heavens and to the sun and the moon. In other words, they'll be left just on the open sky, not buried in the ground. L'Chatz V'Hashemayim, and for all the hosts of the heavens to look down on. Asher Avum, which they have loved, meaning these people who died there who worshipped idols. I mentioned this before, that the idol worship was a problem in the first temple. V'shar of them, and whom they served. V'asher Holchu Acharem, and after whom they went. Thus ends the story of the consideration that Nebuchadnezzar took before he entered Jerusalem. So it's a very, very interesting thing. We heard from the previous story that Nebuchadnezzar, after killing millions of people, converted, considering what he saw was Zechaya's blood boiling, then it abating, and the fact that God has such punishment for the fact that they killed one person. And here you have also Nebuchadnezzar, even within his decision making to destroy the people, had a firm belief in God, and a firm belief in the capacity and the relationship between God and the Jewish people, to the point that he's completely so nervous about doing this thing. And he's trusting these words of Aman Amoyav. There's obviously a very deep, on a psychological level, you could think about this very interestingly, but on a spiritual level, certainly, there's a very deep conversation here it's between two of our oppressors, one who is a coward and doesn't want to attack, but one who does want to attack. But also, in a way, we're included in this conversation by proxy, in that we're almost have to consider what's our position with God vis-a-vis the way our enemies view us.
Well, how long was
something like that?
Temple lasted for how the first one was stood for how long?
400 years.
So for 400 years, these people are getting
410. The next one's 420.
For 410 years, whatever, these people are seeing and benefiting from Israel's greatness and watching it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, these guys say, "Hey, guess what? It's over."
Right.
So he's got 4 generations to think, "No, maybe it's not."
Right.
Something like that.
How many years after Sinai was the first temple erected?
How many years after Sinai's first temple erected? Roughly 800.
No, 480 when it started. 480.
The beginning of the first temple?
Yeah, this the beginning of 480, and
from
then
after
for 10 years it remains.
Oh, it's 800 the whole first temple. Yeah. Okay, sorry, apologies. Yeah.
There's a pasuk in the.
There's Shiloh was stood for a few hundred years.
Yeah, 360.
And there was the other places where the Mishkan was. Yeah. Sorry, it's 800 to the end of the destruction of the first temple.
Back then, whoever our enemies were, it was very close in time
to the revelation.
From the revelation.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
So they knew fresh about our relationship with Hashem.
Yeah, so
if they're hearing prophecies,
they would believe it.
They would believe it even though they're not Jews.
Yeah, so I would actually venture to say that the same thing is true till today. In other words, I don't think that... Let me put it this way. The ones who think we're just like anybody else have no reason to hate us. We're just like anybody else. Who cares? Why do we care about them? it's specifically our oppressors actually usually do believe very strongly in what we believe in, but they think we failed it. That's what the Christians have said for thousands of years, and that's what the Muslims say today.
Well,
it's not like they don't believe in our Judaism and our relationship with Hashem, and therefore they say, "Oh, these guys are a nuisance because we just don't like them." In other words, if they believe that our whole thing is hocus pocus, then okay, so who cares? Let these guys believe in hocus pocus. Nobody's traveling halfway across the world to go kill some tribe in Africa that's serving some god on some mountaintop. Okay, let them do whatever they want. Like who cares? Or even not in Africa, wherever they are, like nobody cares. But all of a sudden, when it comes to Jewish people, everybody cares in what they believe and what they don't believe. Are they right? Are they not right? Are they living up to their Torah? Not living up to their Torah? I think it's still today this way, and this is like a Nebuchadnezzar. This conversation is a prototype of that.
To Christians and Muslims, whatever we stand for as Jews cannot be hocus pocus, because then it makes whatever they believe in.
Correct. That's my point.
Void.
And therefore, they're specifically the ones who oppress us. The anti-Semites often believe in what we believe in stronger than we do ourselves.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is a case in point of that. The Jewish people didn't necessarily listen to the prophets who told them that there's a doom coming, you better change your ways. But Nebuchadnezzar hears about it, he's uncertain, because he believes in this prophecy. And he's like, hold on a second, are you 100% sure this prophecy is accurate? Are you sure there are no loopholes? Maybe they're going to change their mind and then it's going to revert into...
Right.
The oppressor almost believes in what we're supposed to believe in, sometimes stronger. And I think so. Yeah.
I was out for.
Anyways, it's an interesting conversation to get into. Think of the details of what. But in this context, think of the details of what he says. There are mountains. There's winter, and then first tzaddikim, and then the Baal Tshuvos, and all the different levels he's nervous about. I was saying it's not just an indication of an interesting story, but actually, it should inform us about what the truth of our relationship with Hashem is, because our oppressors are sometimes an ugly mirror. I'll put it in other psychological terms, if you will. Every ideal, like if you believe in a certain ideal, that ideal becomes a judge of you, right? Because you're looking at the ideal and you're saying, how much am I living up to that ideal? Right? So our oppressor here, Nebuchadnezzar, is holding up the highest ideal of Jewish people, right? And then going down the line and saying, do they hold up to this? Do they hold up to that? Do they hold up to that? Right? And the same thing is, the truth is, we can ask we ought to ask these questions of ourselves before our oppressors ask these questions of us. That's what I'm saying. By proxy, we're involved in this conversation, even though it's not about us.
Right.
Even though it's not to us. But we are in this conversation. And I think in that context, you have to think of all the different stages of the back and forth between Sanhedrin and Amen and Moav.
I was out for,
let's
say, a coffee with my brother. There was, from the university, like a French couple. One looks a little whatever and one local. The whole conversation is that the Jews keep things closed on Saturday and they're not comfortable with it. That was their whole conversation.
Because you can't go to Cheskis on Saturday and pick up
exactly.
Yeah.
They were so upset. That's their biggest, their whole life.
Can't go to Kosher Quality and pick up Tumentashes.
This is their problem.
Shabbos.
I don't understand. You ever hear a conversation between Goyim? Their biggest problem is what we're doing.
There's a statement like that in the Gemara about Shabbos and the relationship with non-Jews.
Discuss with them anyway.
No, but they depend on us.
Anyway.
They need us. They depend on us.
Lots to think about. You have a wonderful day.
They should go on.